I had not consented to them taking me by force and forcing me to change shape. Charmaine goes on to say, I walk up to the top of the stairs and head down. I can see a lit, open door at the bottom. It seems set up, but I continue. Beyond the door is an empty room with white walls, very clinical looking, and I consider what I may be walking into. There is a two-way mirror on the far wall, but I am able to see through it and observe 3 men in the room on the other side. One is standing, the other 2 are sitting, and they are all wearing suits and ties. They are not all from the same organization. One is from the military. He is an older chap, graying at the temples. The men realize that I am able to see them. I notice that the door that I have just walked through has now closed and locked. They begin playing different sounds and frequencies through speakers built into the walls. They play them at different speeds and volumes and observe my reactions. Some are very high-pitched and are quite painful to listen to. I can physically feel sounds and frequencies emitting from the speakers as if they have an energy to them as well as a sound. Some of them seem to cause an energetic shift in my body. I want to protect myself, so I visualize my aura expanding, shielding me. This is interesting. She's creating like a mental shield around herself. The men are trying to work out what is happening. They can see that I am no longer being affected, and they don't know why. I can now feel a pulsing in my palms and energy, and I move my hands on either side of my body and push the energy shield out further. I am absorbing the energy and frequencies around me and changing it all from something unwanted and harmful into something that is protecting me. I push the shield to the sides of the room, into the speakers and down the wires, as if I know that I can affect the electronic systems that will cut out the frequencies. A man in a white lab coat has entered the control room. They seem to be talking about why the speakers are affected. They are trying to fix them, and I find this quite amusing. My shield is pushing against the mirror, and the glass begins to crack. I become aware that I am able to scan their bodies. The man standing up has a heart condition he is unaware of. One of the chaps sitting down has kidney problems. He drinks coffee all day long, so this is affecting his health, and he is unaware of his full health issues. He gets a lot of pain, feeling tired and groggy. So she's able to see all this stuff about these men behind this mirrored glass, the kind of glass obviously you can't see through. So she's observing all this about their health from behind these men that she can't even see, and she's seeing all this stuff about their health. It's quite interesting. She goes on to say, I am intrigued by this ability to see into their bodies and detect health complaints, and I think about using this to help others. The military chap who is also sitting down, I begin to concentrate on his lungs, and suddenly he is not breathing properly and begins to wonder if I am causing this. The man standing continues to speak with the man in the lab coat. They are getting faults and abnormal readings and are trying to work out what is going on. I am amused as I know the cause of the electrical issues. They invited potential issues to arise as they kidnapped me and subjected me to procedures that I had not consented to. They are discussing the prospect of me being the cause of these problems and seem uncomfortable about this possibility. They arrogantly assume that any subject will remain helpless under their control. They are not accustomed to subjects not complying. I hear the door click, and I know that it has been unlocked. I go through, back up the stairs, into the room with the bed, and out through the door into the corridor. I can turn right to head above ground and out of the base, or I can turn left, going deeper into the base. I decide to turn left and explore the facility further. It is a long corridor with a high and wide gray walls, bright lights overhead, and at intervals there are doors on either side. Some of them have small panes of glass that you can see through, and others do not. Some have small boxes for keycard entry. Some have fingerprint or retinal scanners. There are two large red metal double doors. I go through and into a lab of some kind. It is a large room, and there is transparent plastic sheeting around the room, creating a false wall. I can see a lot of lab equipment beyond the plastic sheeting. There are various jars of flesh and skin samples, and there are 5 lab workers present, 4 men and 1 woman. They have not yet noticed me. 2 of them are sitting down, and they are looking through microscopes. The woman is going from place to place, checking things and making notes. I can smell the chemicals they are using. The woman then notices me and is shocked, alerting the others to my presence. One of the men tries to shield what he is doing. I push through the sheeting and approach him. 3 of the men run out of the room, but the man shielding his work stays where he is, and so does the woman. It appears to be flesh samples of some sort of yellow-orange liquid. The samples are ET in origin. I get a strong sense that they want to replicate and build new cells with the properties found in ET species. So she's really noticing all this stuff that they're doing in the lab. And she goes on to say, I look through his notes. They are wondering if they can overlay that manufactured flesh onto a machine along the lines of AI, but something far more than that. They also want to build cells and implant them into a female subject to see if they could create a fetus with the abilities of the ET or various ET species. So if what she's saying is accurate, it looks like the humans are doing exactly the same thing that the aliens do, or at least some of it with this experimentation, although probably a lot less sophisticated than what the mantis aliens have. They would initially test this on a female human subject with the intention of then testing this on hybrids and ETs. They are attempting to create new life and selecting the species and characteristics for specific purposes. The beings would be a form of super soldier that would be of great benefit to their future plans, as well as lucrative for hiring and selling to other organizations and countries. So this may be part of the program, or one of them, where they're building super soldiers, which is a pretty famous thing going on now in the truth movement if you check on YouTube. The beings would be greatly enhanced compared to human soldiers. They would have increased strength and resilience, a much higher pain threshold, greater healing abilities, psychic abilities, and so forth. They see the potential of creating beings who can infiltrate someone's mind undetected to manipulate their thinking and decision-making. So you see, they probably already have this. They have people that can go and stand nearby, or maybe they don't even need to be nearby. They can just use their brain to try to control your thoughts. And I think some of this may have been happening to me, although I don't know what the source is, whether it's from a person or whether it's from a machine. I don't know. But I've felt like thoughts have been interjected. And it may also be another confusing mix of the demonic realm. It could be the demons adding those thoughts or subtracting them or distracting me or whatever is going on. And they're all working in tandem, so it's very hard for us humans to get a hold of this because we've all been taught to believe none of this stuff exists, or our minds have been conditioned to believe it's people talking about this stuff that are insane, and so it's even harder to grasp complex things with multi-faceted issues happening simultaneously. So she goes on to say, they would look sufficiently human to integrate into society, to walk down the street and blend in, but they would have enhanced abilities and would be under control of the military and any other organizations that shared in the program. The children could be used for certain missions as they would not be suspected. They will be able to unlock doors with their minds, go into someone's mind undetected, and so on. As I am learning about these intentions, I am reminded about one of my daughters on a military base in the UK. So she's continuing to talk about her children that she's had, her hybrid children that she's had with these various ETs. She goes on to say, I know that she can go into people's minds, and it occurs to me that whoever her father is, the mix of his and my DNA has created her and her abilities. One night when she visited me, I woke up knowing that I was going to have a visitation. I saw her literally pass through my window and wall and hover by my bed. She was very pale, with overly large, slightly slanted, completely black eyes. So this is where we're getting the black-eyed children, probably is this mix of human and or human reptilian hybrid with the insectoids. But I think the black eyes is coming from the insectoids, which have the large solid eyes. So when you see that, that's the insectoid DNA affecting it. That's just a guess, but that's just one idea. And she goes on to say, she was very pale with overly large, slightly slanted, completely black eyes and fiery red-orange hair, which was wavy like mine. I could feel her enter my mind, but I pushed her out. We were being monitored by something that felt military. They wanted to see how we interacted and if her abilities worked on me and if I would even be aware of them. She had been told beforehand to try to push her mind into mine, and she was being tested as much as I was. I have visited her, her sister and brother, all my children, on the military base that they are being kept on in the UK. We were monitored at all times. They were relaxed and did not try to use any of their abilities on me. My son looks human with dark brown eyes and hair like me. The other daughter is pale-skinned as well with natural green hair. All right, so this is where the anime characters with the green hair are coming from, maybe. She goes on to say, both girls are very slender with overly large eyes. The girls are more detached, but the boy feels as if he has more human genetics and is more emotionally engaged. He is happy to sit and play with his wooden toys, but the girls are not interested in playing or reading and tend to sit or stand very still. The girls feel no need for interaction, not even with me, whereas the boy does want interaction and physical contact. The girls would accept it, but do not need it. So she's perceiving all this. The girls feel as if their minds are older and more advanced than their bodies. So maybe their souls are older than they look, and I think that's a common phenomena that seems to come up. I noticed that people are. I felt that in myself, but I've noticed that in other people as well, and other people have noticed that the soul seems to be a lot older than a child, even though they may still act like children. She goes on to say, back in the base, I can hear that people have entered the room. I turn and see 6 men in black uniforms. They are not threatening me directly, but they want me to get under some sort of control and out of the lab. So she's switching back now to when she's in the lab. She was flashbacking to her children, talking about visiting and seeing her children, the 2 daughters and the son, but now back to the lab that she had entered into unannounced, and that one scientist guarding what he was doing. And so she's describing that as some security personnel come in and try to get her under control. So she's saying, they are not threatening me directly, but they want me to get under some sort of control and out of the lab and prevent me from exploring any more of the base. They try to convince me to exit the lab, to get me into another room to talk, in quotes, which greatly amuses me. I am still in my reptilian form and consider my options. I notice that one of the military men has what appears to be a gun of some kind, but there is a cone on the end. I get the sense that it does not fire bullets. The main chap states that if I do not cooperate, they will have to get me under control. I am annoyed by this, as they have brought me here against my will, forced me to change shape, and now that it has not gone as they had planned, they are threatening me. The gun is something to do with energy waves, and I can sense a pulse coming from it. I am extremely curious about the technology. He directs it at me, and I feel my body reacting. My muscles are contracting. It feels like a vibration is going through the whole of my body, and I'm changing back into human form. I feel nauseous, hot, and cold. The main chap approaches and holds my upper arm in the pretense of helping to steady me, but making it very clear that they have me under control and that I will comply. Another puts a blanket around me, and they lead me out. So that's the account of Charmaine Satch's account of the military abducting her and forcing her to change into her reptilian form. And I thought that was really the most fascinating testimony in the book, Meet the Hybrids. So I have to say about that account, the above account is fascinating and scary at the same time. If true, it confirms that there are physical shapeshifters, and in Charmaine's case, she does not appear to be able to shapeshift until either ET friends do it with her, or the human military forces her to do it. I find particularly fascinating her psychic abilities while in reptilian form, such as creating EMF shields and being able to see someone's health issues behind a wall. It also tells us the breeding program and ET interactions with humans is fully functional, an entire secret government program with humans involved, creating ET human hybrids and super soldiers, with the general public paying but not knowing what their money is going to. This was the UK, but by all accounts the US is even more steeped in this secret ET program than anyone, and in fact running it worldwide. We can see clearly here that psychic abilities appear to be one of the priorities of these super soldier hybrids, the talents of which include being able to look into people's minds and know everything about them. It also corrects something else that abductee Simon Parkes said, which is that humans are not completely sexually compatible with the mantis-type aliens, because she says that she had a rape episode with those 3 mantis beings. Her black-eyed children here are a clue about where these black-eyed children are coming from. Okay, next we're going to do Cynthia Crawford. And Cynthia Crawford says, quote, I am 38% Anunnaki, 34% human, and 28% Zeta. The Anunnaki were a race of very tall humanoid beings who were known to integrate with various races in order to maintain control of the universe. So she's saying that the Anunnaki were controllers of the universe. She says, I have 2 Earth children, the oldest a daughter who doesn't embrace my beliefs, and a son who is more hybrid than myself because I was impregnated with him on a ship. I also got other children who were removed as fetuses during early gestation, and dozens of children created from eggs which were taken from me prior to having my ovaries removed in 1990. All hybrids have clones so that if there are complications, body parts can be replaced as needed in order that we complete our missions. So we have another purpose for the cloning, to keep the hybrids alive. But what's the real purpose of the hybrids? Cynthia says, just as it takes humans thousands of lifetimes to experience all the lessons in the 3rd dimension, our souls will likewise experience many thousands of lifetimes on different levels of mastery. According to my star family and guides, this is the last reincarnation for humans working on their ascension from the 3rd dimension to the 5th to start on a new program of becoming masters. So here we have again the ascension to the 5th dimension. Where's the 4th dimension in all this? I hear that the 4th dimension is the demonic realm, and a lot of people are saying that, including Peggy Kane, in my opinion, gave the best account of the demonic realm. But also Crystal Sala talks about it. But we don't know if that's the same thing as the 4th dimension, but other witnesses here say that that's where you get all of the malevolent evil beings that are constantly plaguing humans. Cynthia goes on to say, there are millions of star seeds assisting humanity at this time, and all were selected from masses of volunteers because they had already proven themselves worthy to complete their missions. Earth is not the only 3rd-dimensional planet in the universe, but being human is one of the most challenging of all races. Humanity has failed many attempts at ascension because they are so focused on the material world, on greed, power, control, and karmic payback. There was no helping humanity until, first, they realize that the material world is an illusion, and second, they get out of their heads and into their hearts. Until humanity learns how to live in the, quote, Christ consciousness, end quote, they are trapped on this prison planet, The simple meaning of Christ consciousness is to live without fear, greed, judgment, or prejudice by looking beyond the physical container to recognize the source in every living being. It's that simple, end quote. Okay, and here's what I have to say about that. Here, there are a lot of items relating to ascension and spirituality. Notice that Christ consciousness is used without any mention of what Christ actually said. And look what she associates him with. The first two sound good, living without fear or greed. But then she says judgment. Perhaps she means racial judgment, as though people will judge negatively if they see a person of alien or beast heritage. This seems to be confirmed by the next line when she says, quote, or prejudiced by looking beyond the physical container to recognize the source in every living being, end quote. The thought comes to mind that this is associated with goodly spiritual principles because in actuality, when people see these creatures, they will be shocked and horrified, seeing instantly how evil they are. Or it might be this is a genuine fear and problem for aliens, which is why they do not make open contact, because humans are not ready for it. Perhaps there is a genuine effort underway to slowly introduce the subject of non-humans for eventual open integration, but the secrecy, in my opinion, isn't helping. In other words, if they were more open about it, like even if more aliens came forward that were, for instance, I heard there's a Andromedan that comes on with Captain J or Captain K or whatever, and gives a talk, but the problem is you don't know if it's genuine, if this guy isn't just a charlatan making it up for fame or for money. You need to see the alien. One question to ask these hybrids is, can you understand that the secrecy and lack of open contact leaves us suspicious as to what you really are and your motivations? Then, when humans are fearful of non-humans, either the subject or running into them, they are blamed as being fearful and judgmental. And so, there will be, as she puts it, there is no helping humanity, until we realize the material world is an illusion and get out of our heads and into our hearts. I think a fair criticism of this is, it is good to be in our hearts, but if we do not use our heads, for instance, to compare things ETs say to Scripture, and use our head to discern differences, and yes, judging positive or negative, does not that leave us open to ill use by regressive ETs, or even humans or hybrids with ill intent, which all of these people say is an issue? This matches the common thread I noticed in these hybrid accounts of basically throwing out caution and discernment so one can be in a place of positive spiritual evolution and worthy of ascension into the fifth dimension. A theme I notice about the hybrids quoted in this book is the use of higher spiritual principles to discredit or put down those opposing or perhaps questioning the alien agendas. It is like, if you question or judge or criticize, that is clearly a sign of poor spiritual growth. Cynthia says, my guides explained it quite simply. Humans have been brainwashed into believing through religion and ideology that humans are the only beings in the universe, and in order for humanity to awaken to their truth, they must release their judgments and prejudices. Therefore, many of the hybrids have chosen to be able to shapeshift between human and other races as needed, so that humans will realize they are not their bodies, but their souls, end quote. I would actually agree somewhat with the first statement, that people are brainwashed by religion, particularly Christianity. And a large part of these false ideas is thinking there are no aliens and the Bible does not talk about beings from other planets, therefore there are no aliens. I find this to be patently untrue. Not that the Bible mentions extraterrestrials, but that the fact that it doesn't mention them means that they don't exist. Conversely, if people do not have Jesus as their personal Savior and find wisdom to obey the Ten Commandments, they will not enter the kingdom. As a matter of fact, I think finding wisdom is a large component to not being subject to the false ideas that simple-type Christians have. As to the second part, I do not know enough about it to say if this is true or not, that hybrids choose a shape-shifting form so humans will realize they are not their bodies but their souls. My question then would be, if that is the case, why is it rarely, if ever seen, once again fueling the idea they have something to hide? I mean, it's like, why not, if she is saying that many starseeds choose to be shapeshifters so that humans will see that we are not our bodies, how come there isn't one person coming on, like one of these hybrids, and doing a shapeshift right on camera? See, that's just too suspicious. If you really want to change people's minds and, you know, show them that we're you know, we're all a galactic community, and that you know, you want to show them that we're not just our bodies, and you chose to be in a shape-shifting body for that purpose, then why not go on YouTube, introduce yourself, hi, I'm Cynthia, and now I'm going to shapeshift, or now I'm Juju, and I'd like to show you that we're not our bodies, so that you understand, so that we can help you humans understand that you are part of a larger universe community, and so I'm now going to shapeshift, and here it is right on camera. How come you don't see that? And you know, is that low vibration? Is that being, you know, prove it, prove it, prove it, in a situation where we can't trust what anybody's saying because of all the deceptions, and like many of the people here are saying, greed and so forth, and, you know, humans and military and evil aliens going on, and deceptions being used to mislead people. We know all that's going on. Everybody knows that's being done. So why not, if that's really your intent, to wake humanity up to the fact that we are a universe full of different beings living on so many other planets we don't even have a number to count them with, then give us something. Give us something to go by. Break the barrier. Open up to us. Show us. Show it. I would welcome any alien who wants to come. As I've said, one of the reasons I got into this and am interested in extraterrestrials and UFOs is a strong desire to make contact with beings from other planets, which I believe exist. But how come in this situation we can't get one to go on camera on YouTube and just say, hi, I'm such and such alien. We'd like to show it to you and kind of break the ice, because we know that the subject of UFOs and aliens is highly discredited. What's stopping you from making a video? If it's the military or something else, you could make the video, put it on a DVD, and pass it to somebody, and then they could upload it to YouTube. It would be that easy. And a few more people, especially if a few more hybrids or straight out aliens came and did this, with some humans there to show, you know, I'm standing right next to this dude, and you can tell it's not CG. I'm here. This is this alien dude. And that would break the ice. That would at least make the alien UFO subject credible. But here we are waiting for disclosure from the government, in which we know that that's not going to happen. Cynthia says, each source self-experiences numerous lifetimes as various beings, and between each lifetime, the soul gets to reflect on what it has learned. This is where our Akashic records come in, and Akashic is AKASHIC, as it's spelled here in Barbara Lamb's Meet the Hybrids. But we are not shown them until we are nearing the end of each lifetime and/or mission, end quote. As mentioned earlier, reincarnation is scriptural, and I think it might be true that such things as the Akashic records exist, and there is some kind of process of soul reincarnation, review of lessons, and so forth. But is this for all men, or the seed of Eve? Or where is heaven and hell in this process? Hebrews 9:27, and it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So, if we do have multiple lifetimes and a review of lessons, how come there isn't any mention of heaven or hell? Where is heaven or hell in any witness of this? Are all the people up on YouTube saying there really is a hell? I experienced this myself. I saw it myself. I experienced this. Many people from all different walks of life, all different races, all different types of people saying that they saw and experienced hell. And are all these people delusional or lying to us? And where is this testimony in these accounts of reincarnation and life review and everything? If it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So what I'm saying is, what I think, if this is happening, if reincarnation is happening, that what's happening is that you do go to hell, but maybe this information is kept from people, and that's why they're not told. Because if everybody was really fully aware that hell was coming after this life, then they would all, shape up and wouldn't hardly sin anymore, and then maybe that would blow the whole experience of the world. Or it could be, as I was thinking earlier, that if hell were very clear to everybody, then the process of judgment couldn't be complete for what you would choose in this life, because you have to choose good and evil, not knowing whether you'll be caught or not. And that's why it's kind of like, that's why hell is not as clearly known among people as God could easily make it be. Again, the question, could it be that different things happen to different souls, especially to starseeds or ET souls? A good question might be, if these ETs have control of some kind of how they incarnate, and lots of information perhaps humans do not have, do they know about hell, or that some human souls go there? Do they know about demons, and demons that dwell in us and cause us to sin, which, as you know from my channel, you can now see demons. You can see them. Their huge teeth, their slit eyes, or their animal beast eyes, their claws, their fangs, which I've caught on myself. They manifest in a video shot. So do they know about that? And are they mentioning that? They don't. There's no mention of demons, by the way, in this book, Meet the Hybrids. Cynthia goes on to say, quote, "The following night I tried again to go to the council of my guides, but instead met just one person who looked very much like the religious Jesus Christ. I was upset and started to walk away from him, saying, 'No, I'm not about to become religious.' I was stopped as a male voice said, 'Neither is he, for he is about unconditional love and working with the light of source. You know him as Sananda.'" Okay, so that was Cynthia talking about what she is saying to this being who looked like Jesus Christ, but then tells her that he is Sananda. She goes on to say, "Perhaps this is why I had the uncanny ability to draw him in pastels perfectly when I was 20 years old, as if I had known him personally. At that point, Sananda turned toward me and humbly bowed his head, saying to me, 'I am no greater and no lesser than you.'" Okay, just so you understand, Jesus doesn't say that. Okay, those of you who know the scripture know that everyone is hierarchical. There's always one higher and one lower, and God is higher than man, so he wouldn't say, "I am no less and no more than you." Now here, there is fairly concrete evidence of deception. Maybe Jesus is known by names we do not know among beings of the cosmos, but it certainly does not match Scripture for Jesus to say, "I am no greater and no lesser than you." Jesus himself talks about greater and lesser among souls, but also know that Scripture says to worship God, and how can you worship God if he is not superior? There is simply no way this is the same Jesus of the Bible, but a false deceiver, which Cynthia is then accepting. Because if he was the real Jesus who said, John 14:6, "Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me," then she would have reacted to him as she said she did when she first saw him, saying, instead, met just one person who looked very much like the religious Jesus Christ. I was upset and started to walk away from him, saying, "No, I am not about to become religious." Clearly, Cynthia is very spiritual, if not religious, but that might really translate to, "No, I'm not about to become a Christian." And indeed, she is not. Cynthia says, quote, "The fourth dimension is where the soul looks back at the lessons from that lifetime. Then they have to let go and be reborn until they've learnt it all. It is all in the fourth dimension that you get the demonic beings that love to harass humans. But it's the fifth dimension that humanity is moving into, and that is the dimension of integration, of acceptance and learning what it is to love unconditionally. And after you experience that, that is where you get your master's degree. You are already in school learning to be a master, and then your soul's purpose is to help others understand their lessons and move forward." End quote. Okay, here we have an answer to our earlier question about the fourth dimension and demons in hell. I heard this also from Peggy Kane, that the fourth dimension is the demonic realm, and sound like what people like Howard Pittman, see Placebo, says is the second heaven. Placebo is his book. But this does sound somewhat like hell, and may in fact be what it is. The scripture, however, appears to describe hell as an actual place men can reach if they dig far enough down, as this scripture indicates, Amos 9:2. "Though they dig into hell, thence shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down." So here in Amos, if it says that you can dig into hell, it's inside the earth. At least that's what it says to me. Perhaps, however, hell is a place exclusively for punishment, whereas the fourth dimension is the second heaven where the demons live, but also humans are brought there to review their life, the judgment, before reincarnating to the next lesson. I realize a lot of Christians may balk at this, but we really don't know exactly what happens upon death, do we? Cynthia says, quote, "It would make sense then that our Creator, the Source, who is that soul spark of self we call our soul, would never judge or punish us? No, for the Source is experiencing all that is through every being created." Now, I don't know what she means by that really, but she's basically saying that the prime creator, whom she calls the Source, would never judge us, never punish us. And that's really one of the biggest fallacies that I see of the New Age movement. And one of the primary, maybe one of the primary purposes of books like this is to make this whole complex story so that the person who is sucked in by this whole idea is then swayed by the idea that, in fact, there is no judgment and no hell, which is the most important thing, because then they can live how they want to. They can do what they want. They can sin, they can commit adultery, they can live homosexual lives, and there's going to be no punishment for it, only a review of learning of lessons, and then you move on. But love is love, and so forth and so on. And we know that these are terrible, hurtful crimes that destroy families, destroy children, destroy people, and is definitely a wrong things to be doing that are deserving of a judgment, and yes, definitely a punishment. In fact, you know, earlier in my life, that was one of the things I could never understand, how anybody would need a hell. But after experiencing how people are, and the fact that there really is, the saying that there's no justice in this world is in fact true to some extent, I now completely understand the need for hell and punishment after this life, and I would be disappointed if there wasn't at this point. Although hell terrifies me, and I can't even imagine the situation and people that are there suffering, and it's just more horrible than that I can really stand or bear. But again, I mean, I know that there has to be a form of judgment, and there has to be a form of payment for sins that people commit in this life. Otherwise, where's the justice to the people that were wronged and the people that suffered pain in this life as a result of their wrongdoing? Cynthia says, "In the early to mid-2000s, I had an experience with 3 ant people. They came into my bedroom at night, but my husband slept through the whole thing. I thought I was hallucinating. I didn't understand. They weren't talking telepathically to me. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, came back, let my eyes adjust to the darkness, and there were these 3 giant ant-like beings with big bug eyes standing beside my bed. I wanted to reach out and touch one, but I thought, if this thing is real, will it bite me, claw me?" So clearly she has some kind of connection with the mantis aliens. She goes on to say that she experienced the ant beings in their underground bases, and the story is they only come up at a time when the earth renews itself, pole shifts or something, and a select number of humans are taken down with them to wait out the cataclysm. Then, when it is safe, they let them go on the surface to repopulate the Earth. I don't mean to be unloving or low vibration here, but I have to wonder what they're getting out of it. Like maybe from the movie Time Machine, there are witnesses of human meat, limbs, and whatnot in vats in underground bases. Next in the hybrids, or abductees in Barbara Lamb's Meet the Hybrids, is Robert Frost Fullington. So Robert claims his hybrid association is with the mantis beings, describing the removal of the fetus from the mother, the insectoid DNA inserted, then replaced into the womb. When asked to describe the rationale for the hybrid program, Robert says in part, quote, "And the idea is that the frequency here is a little low, to say the least, due to collective negativity, this nightmare scenario going on here that hurts humanity and the planet. So one of the purposes is that the ETs put their DNA into hybrids who help anchor the higher frequencies to raise the vibration in the human collective mind," end quote. So again, we see a focus on spirituality, in particular to do with vibration. Robert says, quote, "But the majority of people on this planet, it's their free will choice not to believe that ETs exist. So ETs can just come down and say, quote, 'Here we are,' end quote. That's another part of the program. Hybrids are helping to awaken minds, to raise awareness so that disclosure can happen," end quote. So another purpose is to do something about humans who in majority choose not to believe in ETs. This could certainly be true from my perspective because I have maintained one major component of the UFO ET cover-up is the people themselves who simply choose not to know about it. In fact, people can get very angry if you try to tell them about it. On the other hand, one might point out mind control and ridicule with every form of attack and intimidation are used to suppress those speaking out on ETs, which things like the Men in Black and murder of people like Dr. Carla Turner and Phil Schneider exemplify. Robert says, "The same as with humans and reptilians, there are multiple races of insectoid beings, some with positive agendas and some with negative. So it could be that the negative ones are behind those anti-humans believing in ET efforts, but positive ones, such as Robert is part of, are trying to bring awareness forward. It is quite hard to say until we can get open interaction, like on video." Robert says, quote, "Which gets into the whole moral question of why raise the vibration. I think the truth of it is that it was allowed to get so negative here because there's no good or bad, it's just an experience. But the negativity has gotten so bad that humanity literally killed our planet. It's time to act, to step out of negativity that's been played out already. Forget all this transitioning to the fifth dimension and all that hoopla. It's just a new expression of life on this planet," end quote. Okay, so here we have one hybrid who seems to think that the transition to the fifth dimension, at least, is bogus. Also, I like what he says about getting out and interacting with all types, not just with those who seem to be of a higher vibration type, and that we all have to take action to help the planet. Robert says, quote, "I've had the beings ask me for my DNA before. I was on board a ship and met these beings with these children of the damned look to them." Are they in fact children of the damned? Even a hybrid with enough humanity has enough common sense to see how off these black-eyed children look. He goes on to say, quote, "I've had marks on my body where DNA has obviously been removed, little triangles cut out of my flesh, injection points, and other stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if I had children up there, but I haven't met any at this point, or seen any evidence of their existence. I did have a prostate problem out of nowhere with bloody semen for about 2 months, and I did wonder if some of the beings had removed my semen in some way. Some of the beings are not too nice, unfortunately. They really need to work on their bedside manner," end quote. So here we have somebody who feels that the aliens are somewhat rude in their bedside manner. I wonder, as previously noted with other hybrids, because his memory has obviously been tampered with, the reality is if he was able to remember everything that happened during these abductions, he would not have as positive an attitude about these creatures. Why does he say children of the damned if they looked good to him? Why do they need to make the person forget most of their experience on board craft whenever they take them? It seems to me because the truth is highly unacceptable from a human standpoint. In other words, what they are and what they are doing is evil, and the beings know this, which is why they always erase the memory of it. Again, can you trust a person's view on something when they cannot even remember the majority by their own admission? Robert says, there are a lot of things we do to help out some individuals, but I can't talk about all of that. Anything we keep secret, it's to protect people. I've had the black helicopters following me, the intimidation, end quote. So this sounds like the Earth government or ETs that run it, who are at odds with other ETs that are here and doing things with their own hybrid programs, or why would they threaten their own hybrid? I know firsthand about the helicopter harassment and met many people who get this as well. I get people emailing me and wanting me to tell me their story all the time. So there is someone behind it, but we don't know who. Next, Robert gets into the spiritual aspect of his ET knowledge and experience, talking specifically about how to reaffirm contact with ETs. Quote, how to fill the contact gas tank, end quote. And number 1, do not purposely harm a single living thing. Take the bugs and spiders outside the house. Water a weed growing out of the cracks in the concrete. Be consciously appreciative to all life you come in contact with. Thank you for this experience, little spider, but you live outside. By doing this, the visitors will see that you respect and appreciate all contact with life on your world. This means you have the ability to respect and appreciate life from other worlds. Here is where it has the appearance of a smokescreen against the truth of these beings, or what humans will readily see if they look upon them. This again is tied into spiritual maturity, so that if someone judges negatively, they are immature, but an advanced, loving, high spiritual response does not have any such recoil or negative thoughts about other creatures. While I do see a point in attempting to be kind to all life, there is some life which isn't kind to me, and I don't think it is being negative or spiritually poor to kill it if it comes into contact with me. Should one gently tell the mosquito sucking your blood that you do not desire to share and gently brush it away? Or maybe even have loving compassion and let it have some blood? Robert goes on to say, quote, they are so advanced that they know you better than you know yourself. If they sense fear, they'll leave you alone, end quote. Here again is the catch-22. They won't make open contact, fueling suspicion they have something to hide, so people are naturally afraid of the unknown. And those who do know something about aliens have every reason to fear them. But if you have fear of aliens, they will not come near you for contact. This means as long as a person has fear about aliens, they will not be able to have contact with them because fear is a low vibration, spiritually immature state. Sorry, but this is not passing the smell test. Robert goes on to say, these beings are not just more technically advanced than us, they are more spiritually advanced as well, end quote. This reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Marge says, for advanced species, you sure know how to rub it in. I realize there may be a lot more to the abduction situation and the aliens themselves, which I do not know and therefore cannot intelligently comment on. But I would say I know some regular Earth humans who would hold as a value not abducting people against their will and taking reproductive material, leaving scars, causing trauma, not telling them anything about it, and then wiping the person's memory. Robert says, quote, there's definitely a negative side out there, and it's not pretty. I had an experience with a negative side when I was 11 years old. My parents took off and I was home alone. I had a toy ambulance, the kind that you push down and the lights and sirens would go off. I heard it going off upstairs, so I went up to check it out. Then the door slammed shut, and I was thrown into the air and then down onto my bed. There was this invisible force pressing down on me, choking me out, and this nightmare sound of monstrous breathing right on top of me, and I blacked out.